Hello and welcome to our first virtual reading lesson. Um, there's a few parts to this. I can only upload one video at a time, so it's going to be kind of a lengthy video because I'm going to be explaining each piece, talking about the reading skill and strategy, and then we're of course going to read the story together. So if you can kind of follow the format, on Monday I will upload a new reading lesson. We can read it together, and then you can answer the questions that are at the end of your story slides. There should be 3 or 4 questions. And then if you want to go to do the next part on Monday, or you can wait till Tuesday, you can go back and reread the story and do the graphic organizer for the reading skill that we talk about in the lesson. And then on Wednesday, there's a writing response that goes along with it. So it's read the story, answer questions, reread the story, complete the graphic organizer, and then writing response. So those are the 3 work components that go along with this lesson. And I've set up your work plan in Google Classroom so that you can see it, and hopefully it'll be clear as we go through each piece what I am asking for you to do. And of course, if you're not quite sure, you can reach out to me with questions. So this week we're going to be talking about story structure as our reading skill. Reading skills, are something that we practice to get better at. Just like we practice reading to get better, we practice skills. Like if you like to draw or paint, you're going to practice drawing and painting every day, and you're going to get better and better at your technique. And so the reading skill for this week is story structure. And we've talked about this before. It's like the building blocks of a story. So these building blocks, every story has. They have characters, they have a setting, and they have a plot. So if we look at the story briefly of the 3 Little Pigs, our characters are the people or animals in the story, and our characters in the 3 Little Pigs would be the 3 pigs and the wolf. Our setting is when and where the story takes place. So the setting would be, outside of the pigs' homes and inside their homes. They each have 3 different homes, right? The house made of straw, sticks, and bricks. And then we have a plot. And that's like what happens in our story. And every plot has a problem and a solution. It makes the story entertaining. If you think about your day-to-day, you encounter all kinds of problems, and then you solve them. So our problem for our 3 Little Pigs would be that the wolf is trying to get into their house and eat them, right? And their solution is they go to the brother pig's house who built the bricks, and the wolf can't get in, but then he climbs up on the roof, right? And so he gets down and they build a fire, and they're like, nope, sorry, wolf. So they make it impossible for the wolf to get in, and the wolf gives up, I guess, and that's it. So in our story today, we'll be looking at just the simple, this is the graphic organizer I was talking about that you can make on your own piece of paper. There's an example of it in your slides that go along with this story. So you can just write, you have your characters. Who are the characters in the story? Who are the people or animals? The setting, when and where the story takes place, and the plot. What happens in the story? What is the main problem, and how do the characters solve it? All right? And we just call that a story map. Kind of cool. All right, so you can be following along with your slides as you listen to me read. I'll also hold up the book so you can see what page I'm on. So the story that we're going to read today is called The Kite from Days with Frog and Toad by Arnold Lobel. I loved Frog and Toad when I was in 1st grade. So here we go. The Kite. So we are on, it'll say like page 89 at the bottom. Frog and Toad went out to fly a kite. They went to a large meadow where the wind was strong. Our kite will fly up and up, said Frog. It will fly all the way up to the top of the sky. Toad, said Frog, I will hold the ball of string. You hold the kite and run. Page 90. Toad ran across the meadow. He ran as fast as his short legs could carry him. The kite went up in the air. It fell to the ground with a bump. Toad heard laughter. 3 robins were sitting in a bush. Okay, now we're going to page 91 here. That kite will not fly, said the robins. You may as well give up. Toad ran back to Frog. Frog, said Toad, the kite will not fly. I give up. So already we're coming to a problem. What problem does Toad have? We must make a second try, said Frog. Wave the kite over your head. Perhaps that will make it fly. Toad ran back across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. Okay, now we're going to page 93. The kite went up in the air and then fell down with a thud. What a joke, said the robins. That kite will never get off the ground. 94. Toad ran back to Frog. This kite is a joke, he said. It will never get off the ground. We have to make a third try, said Frog. Wave the kite over your head and jump up and down. Perhaps that will make it fly. Okay, now we're going to page 95. Toad ran across the meadow again. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. The kite went up in the air and crashed down into the grass. That kite is junk, said the robins. Throw it away and go home. Shh. Toad ran back to Frog. This kite is junk, he said. I think we should throw it away and go home. Page 97. Toad, said Frog, we need one more try. Wave the kite over your head, jump up and down, and shout, up, kite, up. Toad ran across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. He shouted, up, kite, up. Page 98. The kite flew into the air. It climbed higher and higher. We did it, cried Toad. Shh. Page 99. Yes, said Frog. If a running try did not work, a running and waving try did not work, and a running, waving, and jumping try did not work, I knew that a running, waving, jumping, and shouting try just had to work. There's our picture on page 100, page 101. The robins flew out of the bush, but they could not fly as high as the kite. Frog and Toad sat and watched their kite. It seemed to be flying way up at the top of the sky. Okay, that is the end of our story. On page 102, you will see more explanation for story structure for the graphic organizer. It says characters are the people and animals in a story. The setting is when and where the story takes place. Where do Frog and Toad try to fly their kite? It says it in the story. Is it day or night? That would be the when. I didn't talk about them 3 little pigs. It was during the day, right? The plot is the important events. So think about Frog and Toad's problem. How do they solve it? And so you can use your story map to complete that. I encourage you to go back and reread the story. On page 104 are the questions that you can answer. It says to discuss, and if you would like to discuss them with your parent, you can record yourself answering or you can write it. So the essential question that at the beginning of the story was, how can weather change your day? So how does the weather change Frog and Toad's day? How is the setting important to what happens? And so describe the setting using text evidence such as words and pictures. So that's when we go back to the story and we find the evidence. When we say, so how is the setting important to what happens? Well, it's important that they are in the meadow because they're outside and Toad can run. So that's evidence from the story. And then you can answer the questions. Number 1, how do the robins act towards Frog and Toad? So what word would you use to describe the robins? How do they act? How do they treat Toad? Number 2, what do Frog and Toad do to try to get the kite to fly? So they do different things. They try different steps. And number 3, what really makes the kite fly? Is the fact that Toad did all those things together, is that what made the kite fly, or what really made the kite fly? So answer those questions always in a complete sentence. And then for Wednesday, you're right about reading on page 105. It says, write sentences to describe how Frog and Toad are alike and how they are different. Use words and pictures from the story for ideas. So one example would be, so Toad is the one who's running with the kite, who's trying to get the kite to fly. And we could say that he's kind of more willing to give up. We could say that Frog may be more solution-oriented. He has more suggestions to try. When you compare and contrast, comparing as how they're the same, contrast as how they are different. You can look at the pictures, and that's the easiest way to see, by appearance, how are they the same, how are they different. But also think about in the story, like I just said, how Toad, he listens to the robins and he's like, oh yeah, this is junk. I shouldn't fly anymore. I'm going to give up. And then Frog is like, oh wait, try this. So maybe a word we could say is Frog seems like he has more confidence. So that's your writing challenge for Wednesday. Yep, please make sure you ask me if you have any questions. You can go back and listen to this recording to read along with, or try reading it on your own. All right, we'll see you later.